welcome back to the Agility channel. Today I will be doing a video, a story time in English, because so many of you requested me to do this in English and not in Swedish. And I will be doing a story time about my sheltie Lisa, who has had a slip tendon on both her hind legs. I will be talking about how she got her slip tendon on both her back legs and the surgery we did and all the rehab and after work that we have done and what the results are today. There is quite a lot of information on the internet about slip tendon and what it is and so on, so I will only cover this briefly and you can Google it more if you're interested. So basically it's the tendon on the hook of the back leg, I will put a picture up in here, that is luxated. It's not torn, it just jumps out of place, so to say. In Sweden we actually call this sheltie heel because it's so common in shelties. Let me know if you call it sheltie heel in your country as well, or if you call it slip tendon. From what I know, there is no x-ray to tell if a dog has slip tendon. The vet actually feels the tendon being luxated, or they do the surgery and see that it's actually luxating. You can get slip tendon from trauma, but they actually think it's hereditary, and I think the vet's thoughts and researches that have been done are quite strong about this now, that it actually is hereditary. So Lisa is 7 years old now, and she was 6 months old when I found out she had slip tendon. I found out by her limping, taking, those little extra jumps or lifting her leg up briefly when she was walking or running, but she wasn't really bothered by it. My first thought was that she had patellar luxation, which she didn't have. And I also want to put in now that I have, through her surgeries and all of this, had a really good insight in everything, because I actually worked as a veterinary technician at a really big animal hospital here in Stockholm, Sweden. The vet confirmed that her tendon was luxated and we scheduled surgery straight away. I can't show you any pictures or videos from the surgery because there is too much gore and blood going on, but I will try to describe it to you just so you get basically what goes on in the surgery. So what happens is they basically sew back the tendon to the hook. There are many different ways now to do the surgery, but in Lisa's case it was sewn back into place, so it can't luxate anymore. After this, the leg is put in a cast to prevent it from moving. Like I said before, there are many different ways to this surgery, and it can actually be done without a cast. So some vets do it with a cast, some vets don't. And in this case, she had a cast and she had it for 6 weeks. Unfortunately, she had quite a few complications, and not with actual surgery, but with the cast. So she got many abrasions. And this is very common from what I've read on the internet and other people's stories, that abrasions are a really common thing and causes the most problems. You put the whole back leg in a cast, not just the hook, so you're covering the toes and all of that. So she actually got an abrasion on the paw pad of her back leg because it was pushing on it, and this has happened to many other dogs who has done this surgery, I found out now years later. And it didn't only leave an abrasion, she actually got bacteria in there, and because the paw pad is made of basically just fat, it just melted away. So she hasn't got a back paw pad on one of her back legs, the big paw pad. I will put a picture up in here now what it looks like now. She had to have some plastic surgery done on it. We tried to save what was left, but yeah, she hasn't got a paw pad there, and she is doing really well without it, and doesn't bother her because she's a small dog. She weighs 5 kilos. Maybe she's a bit fat now, but she weighs 5 kilos, and obviously with a heavier dog, I think it would have caused much more problems for her. And when the cast was removed, I actually had to bandage her paw because of this for several weeks after. I think it might have been 8 weeks after. So you can imagine a 6-month-old sheltie puppy with first the cast and then, you know, having this bandage on their paw, like trying not to get them not to chew on it and so on. So yeah, the struggle was real with this. The vet says that they want them out of the cast as soon as possible so they can use the leg as normal, because if you don't use your leg, the muscle mass will shrink and so on, and you will get maybe following problems with this. And especially small dogs, you know, they can quite easily use just 3 legs instead of 4 because they are so light, so they may get quite used to it and actually quite comfortable with it. So if you want your dog to have an active life afterwards, like I wanted to, you know, you want to get them out of the cast and the bandage as soon as possible. Now, some vets do this surgery even without putting a cast on it. And so I don't know why they use different techniques, and I've been trying to doing some research about why one technique is better than the other. Haven't really found anything, you know, about it, but in my case, with my dog, I think I wish I did it without the cast, but because of the abrasions and so on. But on the other hand, she has never had any problems with the actual tendon, like slipping out or the stitches going up or anything like that. So I can't really tell you that one is better than the other. I can only tell you about our situation and what the results are and what happened. Like I mentioned before, small dogs are, you know, can easily just use 3 legs instead of 4. And with her being in a cast for so long and the bandage and so on, she really stopped using her legs. So what we had to do was doing a lot of water therapy, like walking in water and doing a lot of exercises for her to use her leg again. Now, spoiler alert, but I can tell you that even today she doesn't use both her back legs like she did before. She is scared of using them, I think, or she just got used to not using them for so long that she actually puts a lot of weight on her front legs instead. And, you know, jumping downstairs especially, she always jumps on 3 legs. She always pulls one back leg up because I think it's just her being used to it. She didn't forget how to use it, but she did it for so long, that's what's normal for her now. We did a lot of exercises trying to get her to use it, not only massaging and, you know, doing a lot of balance work, where you, for example, pick the other hind leg up to force her to put that leg down and using it. We also use like little weights on her back legs, really tiny weights. They look like basically like small bracelets you put on them. I can put a picture up in here what they look like. So, you know, working with them also to get her to use them. But like I said, it worked, but yeah, she doesn't really use them like she should even today. So here we are, 6 months later after the surgery. We have been through all the abrasions and all that, done a lot of rehab, getting her back into shape, and we are out at our summer house, and she basically skips about 3 steps off a staircase, you know, like you do. She just didn't walk down them, she just jumped the last few steps. And when she landed in a way where she just pulled the other leg up, and straight away I knew that she had slipped tendon on her other leg. I'm not a vet, but I'm a vet technician, and I was working as a vet technician at the time. So I could actually feel the tendon being luxated there and then. So I called into work, and one of my colleagues, really, really good vet, and spoke to him and said, I think the other one is luxated. And he said, bring her in. Weekend, of course. Went in and he said, yeah, it's luxated. And she went into surgery straight away. So a few years after this now, I have had some thoughts about this, and I was thinking about what happened, the trauma, because the first one, I obviously don't know what caused it, but the second one, I know what caused it. It was a trauma. And I have been thinking that maybe the other one was weaker because she had been using it too much and not using the other one. I hope I just make myself clear there, but if you can imagine, she's using the right leg too much, putting more weight on it, and because she doesn't want to use the left leg, which she had the surgery on. Because in my head, I was thinking that it was a jump from a staircase, but I don't think it should be that weak, if you know what I mean. I think that it shouldn't happen, basically. It's not very far. She skipped like 2 steps on a staircase and jumped. She landed on grass. It was soft, so she didn't slip or anything like that. So obviously, like I said before, these are my thoughts, but I think that maybe she had put too much weight on the other one. And when I have been talking to other people who had shelties with slip tendon on both legs, they actually think the same. We did the second surgery, and it went really well. This time she had barely no abrasions, but I will tell you why she didn't, because I will mention it a third time. I am a vet technician, so I actually change her cast myself every other day at home and made sure that there couldn't be any abrasions. Now, if you are a normal dog owner at home, then obviously you can't do this. You have to go in like every 2 weeks or every week, depending on what the vet wants to change it, or they might leave it even longer, so you don't know what is happening underneath there. But Lisa she has grown up in a animal hospital. She's very calm and cool with, you know, the whole situation, having things done to her. It sounds like I've done a lot of things to her, but she was really calm and cool. I could just lay her down at home and I would change it myself and just make sure she didn't get any abrasions. So the second time was really smooth going. She only had the cast for a few weeks, took it off, and everything was fine, and we could get started with all the rehab again, like we had just done, but now with the other leg, and also actually still working on the first leg that she got it on, because really we weren't really done with the rehab. So now we're doing rehab for 2 legs. It took us a few months to get back from this. We struggled mostly with her using her back legs. She just didn't want to use them. She was really fine with using her front legs all the time, and not, picking them up, like jumping on 3 legs, and what she still does today, jumping downstairs on 3 legs. And if she was running, she wasn't really running off leash, but if she was running a bit, when she would break, she would not use her back legs. She would just put all the strength in her front legs all the time. Slowly, the months went on, and we were done with rehab and doing a lot of work, like I said, and I strongly recommend that if you have a dog with slip tendon. If you can't go to the vet and have a water treadmill, you can just walk. If the weather is fine and the water isn't too cold, you can just walk in semi-high water, just to get that resistance. We also did some swimming, because when the dogs swim, they actually use their toes as well. And she had some problems with the toes on the left leg where she did the first surgery because of, the paw pad that she lost. So there were a lot of strength being built up, or we had to build up a lot of strength in her toes because she wouldn't put the paw down because she didn't have a paw pad here, so there's a lot of pressure on the actual toes. So the swimming were helping to get them strong, and also a lot of digging and stuff, doing exercises like that for her to get strong to manage a life without a paw pad. We did all the rehab and everything, and I think she was about 2 when we started to do some agility, and we did that for a few years. But then I started to see some other problems. Not with her hind legs, they were totally fine, but she was starting to get some pain in her front leg, now the left front leg. And I went to the vet, and we actually went in with the camera to look into her shoulder to see what the problem might be. And basically she had been putting too much weight on her front for quite a long time, basically since she was 6 months old. And we had been doing some agility, so all the breaks and all the work that she has to do running agility, she was just not using her back legs, only putting too much pressure on her front legs. And this was when I stopped doing agility with her. It's been, I think it's maybe 1 or 2 years now, probably 2, when I stopped competing and training with her on a regular basis. And as soon as I stopped, she didn't have any pain anymore in her front leg. But also I could see in many pictures, if there was any photographers taking pictures of her running agility, that in all pictures she was, putting so much weight on the front all the time. And I was seeing it myself on her walks and things like that, that it just wasn't the same as it was when she was little, before she got the first trauma or the first slip tendon. And I actually decided that, I could maybe train a few times a month, maybe once a week, and she could probably manage and still do agility. But for me, it's just not worth it. I don't want to have that responsibility on me of her, being in pain in any way. And we have quite an active life outside of agility. We do a lot, like, not your regular walks. We do often go for like really long walks on weekly basis, and I always wanted to know that she could do that without being in pain. And I don't think she could have done both agility and have an active normal life, so I chose for her to have a normal active life without agility, and she's quite happy with that, to be honest. I miss running agility with her. She was in really good shape when we decided to stop competing with her. She was actually in the best shape of her life, doing really well running agility. So that was really hard, and I think that will be hard for anybody, with when they get an injury on their dog, even if it's not slip tendon. It's really hard to just accept the thought of not doing what you love with them, but at the same time you're happy that you can have them with you, and they can be without pain. I have probably not covered all your questions in this video, so if you have any questions, you can comment down below or write me a private message if you don't want to comment here, and I will try to answer them all as best as I can. And like I said in the beginning of the video, these are my experiences with my dog, and they might be different from you. So the facts are what we have done and the surgery and what has happened, but I can't really sit here and tell you it would have been in any other way if we would have done another surgery or didn't do the surgery, because there are actually people not doing surgery. I found out this recently. So yeah, make sure to subscribe and follow us. And we also have an Instagram account now. It's called the Agility Channel. So make sure to go in and follow us there. And we will see you soon. Bye.